Welcome back to video number 2. It's coming out, you guys, that the Netflix deal could be in serious trouble. There's a lot of rumblings. So let's just jump in and cover that really quick, shall we? Let's go. Stories are starting to come out that Harry and Meghan would never be able to recover if they lost the Netflix deal because it's so lucrative. We know that they signed a 5-year, £100 million, which is like $120 million with Netflix in 2020, right after they stepped down as working royals. They also said in the Oprah show that they just backed into it. It wasn't on their radar, which of course we found out later on was a lie. They had met with Quibi, which was a now defunct streaming service, and she tried to do Pearl with Quibi. So there you go. What's being reported is that this deal is on the brink of ending. And that if this contract went, like nobody else is going to sign them. It's going to be so much humiliation, especially after what happened with Spotify. Now, they might try to set up a deal with a much smaller company, which is the same thing that happened with Spotify. So now that all this speculation is going on that the deal could end, it's being said that suddenly, after years of doing absolutely nothing, Harry and Meghan are suddenly trying to create new content. So think about it. Harry and Meghan were getting like $2 to $3 million a year from Netflix for overhead. That was to pay for camera people. That was to pay for production people. That was to pay for script writers. You know, it was all of that sort of thing. And remember, we have heard that they're putting out now this polo show and Meghan's cooking show, but once again, that was announced by Harry and Meghan, not by Netflix. And of course, Harry and Meghan are the executive producers on both of those shows that are now in early production. Let's not forget that one of the things they did for Netflix was Live to Lead. Now, Live to Lead was a documentary that had already been put together. All Harry and Meghan did was buy it and do a little narration on it. However, one of the people in it, Jacinda Ardern, immediately stepped up to let it be known that she did not work with Harry and Meghan and she wanted to distance herself. She said that I was on this show about inspirational leaders, that my part of it was taped years ago before Harry and Meghan bought the show. She was horrified at the thought that she was working with them. Did she meet them when they came to New Zealand? Yes. Did she want to be otherwise, known with them? No. How about Pearl? Pearl was in quote unquote early production when it was canceled. People were just not interested in it, and she tried to push Pearl multiple times. So Live to Lead and Pearl, also Invictus, which didn't do well either. Nice try though. It didn't even make the top 10. Total views on it were terrible. So now Harry and Meghan are trying to launch these two things on cooking and polo. And when you look at this, it harkens back to what happened with Archetypes. They had a $20 million contract. It took years. They couldn't get anything done. They built a studio, it's reported, in Harry and Meghan's house. They hired extra producers to come in. While Prince Philip lay dying, they were taping commercials like this one.
That we can elevate voices that maybe aren't being heard and hear people's stories.
And the biggest part of this is trying to create this community of where you can share. We'll encourage everybody else to then share their own vulnerabilities within that safe space.
Now remember, their very first podcast was a complete fail where you had a bunch of multimillionaires taping from their mansions, talking during COVID about how we were all in it together. And they even wheeled out Archie to try to get some clicks, and it didn't work. It came in behind whale sounds for sleep. When Archetype finally launched, it was the Meghan show. She cut everybody off. All she did was talk about herself. So what happened after that? After a year of not meeting metrics, Spotify canceled their contract, and of course, Harry and Meghan put out a statement. We're proud of what we've created, and it's an amicable split. However, we found out that was not true. They called them effing grifters. Bill Simmons actually said, my goodness, I should get drunk one night and tell you about the Zoom call I had with Harry, because Harry's idea for a podcast was to interview people like Vladimir Putin about his childhood trauma. Like, are you kidding? This is the kind of stuff they were coming up with, and that is why it failed. Now, of course, Harry and Meghan came back and said it was Spotify's fault. They didn't tell them how to do anything. So the next thing you know, an announcement comes out from this group called Lemonada. Oh my goodness, we're so excited. We've got Meghan Markle on our podcast. We're going to continue Archetypes. We're going to put it out to everybody. I mean, listen, if you couldn't get out to everybody on Spotify, this small little podcast can't do it. But Meghan put out a statement how excited she was to be working with them. And then now she's pushed it back to next year because she's busy with ARO and her Nigerian tour. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. This was all taped in a matter of days. Here Harry's wearing a black shirt. Here he is when they're talking about doing the Easter egg hunt, and Harry's wearing a black shirt. I mean, I think they literally taped everything in like a day, and they changed her clothes but not his. During the couch interview, he's wearing a black shirt. Sitting in the office working, when she gets her text from Beyonce, he's wearing a black shirt. Learning about the Queen's death, he's wearing a black shirt. He's sitting in the chicken coop talking to Oprah. He's in a black shirt. I mean, you would think this man would own something else, unless, of course, it was all taped at the same time. I'm telling you guys. Now, here, he's showing Meghan a supposed text message, and he's wearing a gray shirt. And here he's wearing a blue one. And look how the way she's smirking. That was during the Oprah show. Now look at this. They're in some apartment. Look at the shirt. Look at the necklace. Now they're in the car. She's wearing the same shirt. Look at Harry's shirt. She's wearing the same necklace. Okay? Same one. Then all of a sudden they're up in the office. That's the same shirt for Harry and the same shirt for Meghan. So, getting back to my original topic of, I digressed a little there. What's going to happen if they lose Netflix? They're going to be done. Now, keep in mind that Netflix has paid them at least $40 million so far. However, for those of you who don't know, it costs an average of $20 million to live where they live. So any money that they've gotten is pretty much gone. And I also believe that's why Harry is fighting for security so much. So I'm going to keep an eye on this story, which is a developing story, because unless Netflix picks up the polo and the cooking show, their contract will be canceled and they have no more cash flow coming in. So let's see what happens. Now, don't forget to hit the like button and the subscribe button and follow me over to video 3. Let's go.